Time for a pop quiz. What do Baraka, Sub-Zero, Ermac, and Goro all have in common? You have 10 seconds to guess or say goodbye to Jax's arms. Today's video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. Manscaped offers the best tools and liquid formations for the 3 major odor zones: your body, your butt, and your balls. Manscaped hooked me up with a bunch of stuff from their all-in-one Performance Package 4.0, so let's check it out. First up, we gotta talk about the Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer. This is Manscaped's 4th generation electric waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology, which reduces nicks and cuts on the most sensitive parts of the body. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a super smart cordless charging system and these little LED lights on the front to show how much battery is left. Keep in mind you get up to 90 minutes on a full charge. Tap the button on the front 3 times to engage the new travel lock feature. This ensures that your shaver never goes off in your luggage whenever you're traveling around and about. And next up, we have 2 products that I never knew I needed until now: the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. Simply apply the Crop Preserver after your shower for all-day body and odor protection. And then the Crop Reviver is a convenient spritz with cooling aloe vera to quickly refresh the area whenever you need it. Manscaped really has you covered from head to toe. This is their Weed Whacker nose and hair trimmer. It's a wireless nose trimmer with the same skin-safe technology as the groin trimmer, so you don't have to worry about any tugging or cutting on those sensitive nose hairs. And for a limited time only, you get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Go to manscaped.com today to get 20% off and free international shipping along with these 2 free awesome gifts. All you have to do is use code UNDERDOG at checkout. Manscaped always has the best tools for the job, and I highly recommend checking them out today. Today we're discussing the most tortured character in Mortal Kombat history, because I don't think anybody has been dismembered as many times as Jax. And oddly enough, it's always a different person, which is why Jax's arms are like doorknobs. Everyone gets a turn. However, all joking aside, it's not just Jax's arms that are victims. The man's not even safe in his own arcade endings. And then on top of all of that, Jax still has it bad in ways we're gonna talk about in this video. So without any further ado, let's get started. Mortal Kombat 2 was the very first time Jax made his debut in the series. And believe it or not, he didn't have metal arms, because even without them, Jax is still a force to be reckoned with. And if you don't believe me, just read the comics. Don't forget that Jax is Sonya Blade's commanding officer, so if you think she's tough, then just multiply it, because Jax is stronger still. However, oddly enough, despite being a soldier, Jax prefers to punch and throw people around. Who knows, maybe he always wanted to be a pro wrestler, but his parents just wouldn't let him do it. And I already know what you're gonna ask: when does Jax lose his arms? Here's the thing, he never does in the original timeline. Jax does not get dismembered in the Midway games. You know the Mortal Kombat 2 movie that everybody makes fun of, where Jax just wears these arms over his real arms? That's canon. That's actually lore accurate. I don't care how goofy it is or how silly you might think it is, that's lore accurate. That's accurate to the games. The closest we get is the Malibu comics, where Baraka stabs Jax's arms, but he does not take them clean off. And honestly, Jax's arms would have likely recovered, but Sonya Blade was like, hey, get an upgrade and then you can keep fighting right away. And Jax was like, yeah, let's use these metal arms, I want to keep fighting. And that's what happens in the comics, but to my knowledge, the Malibu comics are not actually canon. I mean, for Pete's sake, Baraka was actually on the good guy's side before betraying Jax, and I don't see Baraka doing that. The betraying part, yes, but joining the good guys in Mortal Kombat 2, no, I don't see it happening. Keep in mind that in the original games, Baraka is literally part demon, and he enjoys stabbing things as much as you enjoy spanking the ham. Yeah, he likes it that much. But I digress. The main point is, Jax does not lose his arms in the original timeline until Armageddon. In that final game, it's loosely implied that Jax made the tough decision to finally replace his arms completely with a fully cybernetic set of arms, just to make himself that much stronger, to make sure the heroes won the day. Or in other words, nobody takes Jax's arms in the original timeline. It never happened. The only reason Jax ever got his metal arms in the first place was to make himself that much stronger, and that's the same reason he fully replaced his arms in Armageddon, which was supposed to be the final game in the series. And honestly, now that I think about it, that's probably the real reason it happened. The developers wanted to go big or go home. This was their final game, and they said, fine, we're gonna give Jax completely robotic arms. No matter what the case may be, let's get one thing straight. Jax losing his arms constantly was started by NetherRealm. So now let's talk about Mortal Kombat 2011, otherwise known as MK9. Unlike the original timeline, Jax is already on Shang Tsung's island during the events of Mortal Kombat 1, but he's Shang Tsung's prisoner. And this trend just keeps going, because even in the animated movies, he's once again a prisoner of Shang Tsung on the island. However, I want to give NetherRealm some credit here, because we see Jax wearing wearing a prototype version of his cybernetic arms. And that's actually accurate to the lore of the original timeline, because in Special Forces it's mentioned that he was experimenting with a prototype version of the mechanical arms. And to the shock of many players, myself included, Jax is actually allowed to keep his arms for a large portion of the story mode until he makes the mistake of trading hands with Ermac. I didn't even mean to make that joke there, and I feel kinda mad. It's a dark pun, but hey, it worked out. Yeah, you can't throw hands with Ermac. Like I discussed in this video, canonically, Ermac is one of the strongest characters from the original timeline. In fact, you could argue he's the strongest mortal in the entire Mortal Kombat series. So yeah, Jax gets bodied, and here is where the trend begins of Jax losing his arms. Your boy Ermac literally disarmed Sonya Blade's commanding officer. Okay, now that pun was intentional. And you might think that Jax has done suffering in this game, but you'd be wrong, because the boy straight up dies to Sindel, along with the majority of the heroes in one of the most infamous scenes in Mortal Kombat history. If you were like me back in the day playing this game for the first time, you probably had that thought of, not many characters have died in story mode so far, and I feel like we're getting pretty close to the end, so what's going on? And then you just stared at the screen in utter disbelief as a single character wiped off a majority of your childhood heroes. And if you ask me, Jax got it the worst. Your boy literally throated Sindel's shoe. That's rough. It's impossible to look manly when you die that way. You're choking on somebody's stiletto. But do you want to know the worst part? We never get to see Jax even use his metal arms in the story mode. He gets his arms ripped off and then gets the new arms and then dies shortly after. Which to this day is very confusing to me, because when you have a character who's known for his metal arms, he should probably get to use those metal arms at some point in the story mode. Or at the very least, when his chapter comes up, he should already have the metal arms. He shouldn't have his regular human arms unless you're trying to tribute MK2 for some specific reason. But yeah, rip Jax, he's dead. Like straight up, just dies in the main canon. But don't you worry, as mentioned earlier, his suffering is only beginning, and now it's time to talk about Mortal Kombat X. At the very start of this game, we discover that Jax is a Revenant, which means he's pretty much an evil zombie working for Shinnok, but I'm not gonna lie, the man looks good, especially the new cybernetic arms. Those should be an option in every single Mortal Kombat game. Jax is out here looking metal AF, and I'm all for it. However, despite his amazing new threads, Jax is a Revenant, which means he's going to job to everyone, which is unfortunate. But what is fortunate is Jax is one of the few Revenants who gets turned back into a human. Thank goodness, hallelujah. Almost every other hero that was killed by Sindel remains a Revenant for the remainder of the series. So yeah, when you think about it, Jax kinda got off lucky, oddly enough. I mean, for his situation, he got off lucky. He's still super unlucky, but for his situation, it could have been worse. And I'm gonna keep it real, this game has my favorite version of Jax, because he does not take nonsense from anybody.
Jax, there is no need to stop.
Jax was letting everybody know that his metal arms were rated E for everyone. My man even got to slap around Sindel, the lady who killed him in the first place. But more importantly, he got the run back with her shoe. And your boy pulled it off. That's a tough matchup, so kudos to him. Jax won, Sindel's shoe won. It's an even draw. Let's see who wins in the third match. Yeah, Jax in Mortal Kombat X does not take any nonsense from anybody. But the developers at NetherRealm just couldn't let him have the W. They had to make him suffer somehow, so what did they do? They killed him in the arcade ending. I was not joking when I said Jax could never catch a break, especially in the NetherRealm era. The developers did Jax dirty. How you gonna have him acting so metal and hardcore in the story mode and then just kill him off in an arcade ending? That is so rough. But don't worry, things get worse, because now it's time for Mortal Kombat 11. This game, for whatever reason, decided to make Jax a depressed, anxiety-riddled mess. And look, I don't want to pretend that can't happen to soldiers, because it absolutely can, and it's a serious topic. I take no issue with that. My actual issue is that it's out of character for Jax based on what we've seen. During Mortal Kombat X, it was clear that Jax had already put the past behind him. Yeah, he hated what he did as a Revenant, but he wasn't in control, and he knew that. But then suddenly in Mortal Kombat X, he's riddled with PTSD and can't escape his basement. Yes, I understand that his wife died and he can't get a hold of his daughter and she's on a dangerous mission. I understand all of those things, but the Jax I know would have just taken action. He wouldn't have sat in his house and gotten drunk watching TV. I'm just saying that Jax acts one way in Mortal Kombat X, and then in the very next game acts a completely different way just because the writers wanted him to behave that way. And if you ask me, that's the really messed up part. The writers wanted Jax to be this way. They wanted him to be anxiety-riddled, So they killed his wife, they made it so he couldn't keep in contact with his daughter, just to rationalize why he would be in this mental state, why he's an emotional wreck. And what happens after that, you ask? He joins the bad guys. Yeah, he works for Kronika and almost single-handedly betrays the entire timeline. Not just Earthrealm, keep that in mind. He didn't just betray Earthrealm, he almost betrayed the entire events that happened throughout human history. Because if Kronika does win, she resets everything. And the writers thought, hey, why not have Jax join her side? My goodness, this man can't catch a break. At least in Mortal Kombat X, he didn't choose to join the bad guys, but in Mortal Kombat 11, he just does. Now, thankfully, we also get classic Jax in Mortal Kombat 11, and he beats some sense into himself, quite literally, and also helps save the day. And in the end, they both team up and take down the evil forces and save pretty much everybody, which is awesome. But guess what? We're still not done, because Jax's daughter that he cares so much about, yeah, she ends herself in her own ending. This might be one of the saddest moments in Mortal Kombat history. I know I joke about it a ton, but the idea of my daughter taking her own life because she thinks it makes my life easier is heartbreaking. Because the reality is Jax doesn't want this, and now this new timeline is going to forever not have Jackie, and Jax won't know what he's missing out on as a father. So yeah, that's depressing. I don't know why the arcade endings have it out for my boy Jax, but they are going for the jugular every single time. Or actually, I guess they're going for the heart, because in the one ending he gets shot in the heart, and in this one he gets his heart broken. Alright, now to end this video, let's talk about all the different times that Jax had his arms ripped off, shall we? First, let's talk about Scorpion's Revenge, the animated Mortal Kombat movie, which I actually like quite a lot. In this film, it's Goro that rips off Jax's arms, which I can't even hold the L against him because nobody can beat Goro except for like a handful of people. And that's especially true for this Goro, because in this film, not even Liu Kang could defeat Goro, so he's much stronger in this movie than he normally is. So once again, catching the L to Goro in this movie, not that big of an L. And then we have another movie, this time the live action version, where Jax loses his arms to Sub-Zero. And to a lot of people, this is the most gruesome way he's ever lost his arms, and I personally disagree. I think Ermax is still way more gruesome. And once again, as far as L's go, this one's not that bad because Bi-Han defeated a lot of people, including Fujin, so canonically he's really tough. The only person to ever kill him was Scorpion, and it took him 3 tries, so just keep that in mind. Bi-Han's pretty tough. And then we have that terrible Machinima series where Jax got his arms blown off by a grenade from one of Kano's henchmen, which might seem like an L, but keep in mind he jumped in front of Sonya Blade to save her from the explosion, so it's kind of a W because your boy Jax a hero. And there you have it, every character in the series so far that has disarmed Jax, but I can guarantee you it's gonna keep happening. Whenever there's a movie that has Jax in it, he's gonna lose his arms. So trust me, your boy's not out of the woods yet, but guess what? Ironically enough, Jax kinda has this coming, because guess what his fatality was in Mortal Kombat 2? Yep, you guessed it, ripping the opponent's arms off and then literally flexing on him. The man stands there and flexes on you after tearing your arms off, and the fatality doesn't even kill them, they just stand there awkwardly in shame. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I enjoy watching Jax's arms get torn off, but the guy kinda had it coming because ironically enough, he started this trend. Alright everyone, that's it for the video. Please leave a like down below if you enjoyed, it really does help my channel out a ton. And then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.